It's great to be here in Arsenal territory. It's very dangerous for me. I've just come over from West London to bring a bit of light to your occasion. From the greenest borough, the Queen suburbs, Ealing, where we're going to have 3 Labour MPs, Jeremy. One of them might be in the cabinet, I'm hearing, but there you go. He's my neighbour as well, it's even worse than that. But it's great to see you. I'm here because the RNT sent me, that's my job. I follow instructions like a good member. But mostly importantly than that, we support Jeremy all the way. And you know why we do that? Because he stands with us. We're under attack. And I'm looking forward to one result tomorrow. Remember Grant Shapps? Remember him? He said that he was going to crush our union within a fortnight. And at that time it was just RNT members down at Euston Station. Jeremy was there with us most mornings on the picket line. His entire life in this movement, he's been standing with the men and women of this country, fighting for their rights, the trade unionists, the people in poor housing, the people in poverty, and of course the people around the world, fighting for their own liberation, for their own dignity, and some peace on our planet. That's why we stand with Jeremy Corbyn, and that's why he's different from the rest, and that's why they're trying to do him in, and that's why we're going to stop them. In the Labour Party, and some of them will be in the RNT group, and when we get back to Parliament next week, Jeremy will be in our RNT group, along with all the other socialists that we can find remaining in the Labour Party that want to fight for our values. But our message is always in the RNT. We are going to rebuild it as an independent Labour movement, independent trade unions. So what we're going to do, Jeremy Corbyn is not an independent. All these posters are wrong as far as I'm concerned. Jeremy Corbyn is an integral part of the Labour movement. Drop our principles and dilute our policies. We will never stand for it. So this is an important election tomorrow. This is the start of a campaign. The start of the campaign to rebuild the Labour movement. It's ours and we claim it back. Just as we claim back the right to strike, the right to campaign and the right to resist over the last 3 years. Jeremy's been an integral part of keeping those ideas alive. The idea of socialism cannot be crushed by those that seek to manage the economy, those that seek to manage capitalism. What we need is to crush capitalism and build socialism. These days. So good on you. So what we're going to do tomorrow, we're going to get out on the doorsteps all over this constituency. We're going to raise the cry. A vote for Corbyn is a vote for the future. A vote for Corbyn is a vote for peace. A vote for Corbyn is a vote for justice. And a vote for Corbyn is a message that we stand with the people of Palestine. We stand and forever MP for Islington North.
As you know, we always march in the tread of those that went before, and history was made here on Highbury Field, just over there, a Highbury barn was where the Priory was sacked in 1381 when the Peasants' Revolt marched to London in protest against the Poll Tax and burnt down the Priory as a point of protest. This is the history of London, it's the history of people that have stood up against oppression and stood up for liberty. This constituency was once represented by Wilkes for liberty. It was later represented by Charles Duncombe, who presented the Great Charters petition to Parliament in the mid-19th century. Many people have made their homes, made their lives, and done great things historically in this area, including Mary Wollstonecraft, including Karl Marx, including Lenin, including Vanna Brockway, and many, many great people have made historical contributions to our community. And I think it's important we always remember the history of our movement and how our rights were won, and how our right to vote was won, how our health service and so much else was won. So I just think this campaign has been amazing and historic. I want to say it's been the most full on. We've done more canvassing than has ever been done before in this constituency. From starting to absolutely nothing. We have knocked on all those doors, we've had all those conversations with so many people, we've inspired so many young people and many local people to come in and help in this campaign. I want to say thank you to all of them. I also want to say thank you to the members of Islington North Labour Party who first selected me over 40 years ago to be their candidate. And during those 40 years, I've been selected again and again by the same people in the Labour Party. I've reported to them every month on what I've been doing during all of that time. And I've learnt an enormous amount from all of them. So it's painful beyond belief to watch the destruction of democracy in the Labour Party by the current leadership of the party. Unable to write to them all because I was denied even the information to do that. I want to just say thank you, comrades, for all you've done and all we've done together. And in all the marches, demonstrations, strikes and so on in the future, we're going to be on the same side, marching down the same road, demanding the same thing. Hours of announcing I was running as an independent, 1,000 people had already offered to come and help with the campaign. We got an office, we set it up, we set up the systems, we printed the leaflets, and we got on with it. Thank you. It's been an amazing experience. Keep the campaign going and making sure you've all got plenty to do. And there's plenty more to do tomorrow. So we're not going to have a long rally tonight, understand that. So I will be restricted in my speech because there's people behind me. They're controlled, real control. I mean, I don't know what you're trying to do with that. But I also want to put on record my personal thanks to all of them, and if I may say so, a huge personal thanks to my wife Laura for all that she's done. It's a badge of honour! Spoke before me, Mick, who spoke earlier, Holly, who sang, Hannah, who's written some great poetry and presided over all of our rallies. This is the sixth one, I think it was, we're having this election campaign, obviously for Mick, to Owen and to BC, and to Jermaine for his wonderful singing. I knew this guy was going places. Look at him tonight, fantastic. So let's say thank you to all of them, because I believe politics is about information, is about history, is about causes, but it's also about art, it's poetry, it's music, it's culture as a whole. I think some others probably are, because they seem to lack any humanity in what they're doing. So this campaign has been an absolute joy, and tomorrow will be a joy. And we are on the verge, I believe, of making history. Standing up for democracy and standing up for all the issues that we believe in. And if elected, I'll be that voice of Parliament. Sometimes be awkward, sometimes be critical, sometimes be demanding, sometimes be denounced as being unbelievably unreasonable, difficult and stubborn, and all of those things. You've got to do what you believe to be right and stand by it, whatever the price. Of us in one division, there were 520 in the other. And Tony said to me, you know what, comrade, history will prove us to be right. We opposed the war, and didn't join in with the gathering swine running ahead of it all. So I think we have a huge opportunity tomorrow to get ourselves over the line and win this. But it's also about our lives. And it is about the way in which our wonderful National Health Service is run, and the way in which it's funded and the provisions it makes. And many in this crowd, and thousands more, marched to protect our Whittington Hospital in 2010 to stop it being closed, or the A&E being closed, which would have led to the closure of the whole hospital, and stop the privatisation of our services, because that is what we do. That's what we believe in. By the way, if the Labour candidate is here tonight, I wrote a letter to him on Monday asking if he wanted to come and have a debate about the National Health Service and about the role of the private sector in taking money out of the National Health Service. Strangely enough, there's been no reply. But I'm sure you wouldn't mind extending the rally so we could have that debate here and now. Would that be okay? Debate here and now about the role of the private sector in taking millions out of our National Health Service, while the rest of us put millions into the National Health Service through our taxation. Healthcare is a human right, free at the point of need for everybody. Should be and must be a place for all of us to get decent health care, and with it a better mental health service, and with it a better social care service as well. And so I will be absolutely dedicated to ensuring our National Health Service is always there, free at the point of need for everybody who needs it. There's so much else in this election campaign. 40% of the children in this community are living in poverty, living difficult lives, and their parents are at the food banks every week trying to get enough food for them to get by. So why on earth do we have something so immoral in our society as limiting benefits to the first two children in a larger family? There's something totally wrong and immoral about that. I want a society where every child is valued. Nobody has to go to a food bank, and minimum wage means a minimum wage that you can live on, not one that about the future for young people as well. Because I find it appalling the way that young people are over-tested and over-screened in school, forced deeply into debt if they go to university. And then, when they come out of university, no chance of getting council advocates in such short supply, forced into the private rented sector, where they're paying half or more of their take-home pay in rent levels, and it goes up and up every year. Private rents went up by 15% last year, and they're continuing to go up all the time. And so it is beyond pathetic that none of the mainstream political parties are even offering to move in the direction of rent control and rent regulation. And ensuring that the whole of our community is decently housed. Why do we tolerate having rough sleeping in our society? This is the fifth richest country in the world, as Mick pointed out. Why do we tolerate this? Why can't we simply say there will be no more rough sleeping, there will be no more homeless, and give the resources to council to make sure everybody is housed? We do so much to give help and comfort to people sleeping rough and frankly starving on our streets at the present time. So these things have to be campaigned for and have to be spoken strongly about. And I want to be that voice in Parliament doing that. I also want to be that voice that recognises that the environmental crisis we all face is here, it's serious, it's desperate, and it is appalling. You're not going to solve it by having more oil wells. You're not going to solve it by burning more fossil fuels. You're only going to solve it by converting our economy into a sustainable green economy. But you don't do it. As you convert those industries. That means public investment. I don't see it as a waste of money, I don't see it as a luxury, I see it as an investment for a sustainable future for all of us. And that's why I was proud in 2019 to place before Parliament the motion that Britain would be the first country to declare a climate emergency. And it was passed, and it was about a sustainable world, these issues about decent education service only are won by popular action and popular movements. The NHS didn't come because Parliament wanted it, the minimum wage didn't come because Parliament wanted it, national insurance didn't come for that reason any more than any of the other legislation did. It came because of demands of people. So if I'm elected to Parliament tomorrow, and I hope I am, obviously, it's not me who's being elected, it's all of you who's been elected. Have a collective voice, I will establish a monthly assembly meeting within the constituency so that, yes, I'll report back on what I've been doing, but also every local campaign and others that are concerned about issues can have a voice as well. When we come together, as this campaign has shown, we're unbelievably strong, and we find how much we agree on and how we're able to get along so well together. So I want to say thank you to everyone for their behaviour in this campaign as well, in that sense of unity that they brought to so many things. I want to just add this point, if I may. I grew up in the Midlands in the 1960s, and the best years of my life in many ways were the education I had by being a volunteer worker in Jamaica in the late 60s, and trying to understand something, yes, of the beauty and wonder of the Caribbean culture, but also what the people of the Caribbean had gone through, from slavery to exploitation, to indentured labour, to an economic system that was profoundly unfair on every Caribbean economy. And I remember like it was yesterday, when Enoch Powell made his disgraceful Rivers of Blood speech, and the anger and the shame and the reaction that people had throughout the Caribbean about that. He was trying to stir up racism against the Caribbean community, the African community, and the South Asian community. So when I heard people, I hear people claiming that refugees are the greatest problem to this country, and that the small boat people are the biggest problem and the boats must be turned back. I've been to Calais. I've sat down with people who have come from Afghanistan, from Iraq, from Syria, from Libya, from Sudan, from Senegal, from Eritrea, from Ethiopia, many other places. They're poor, they're hungry, they're desperate, and they're frightened. They're frightened of what the police will do to them. They're frightened of what the far right will do to them. And they're frightened of what the rest of their life will hold. And we treat them, our media and most of the political establishment treat them as some kind of dangerous marauding force. Sorry guys, but these are human beings just trying to survive, who are victims of war and human rights abuse. Go through the list of countries I just gave you. We've been involved in wars in most of those countries. Wars have consequences. Those consequences are poverty, those consequences are terror groups, those consequences are refugees, those consequences are desperation of so many people. And so I wish we could look at things a bit differently. You won't find me condemning the people of Bangladesh, Jamaica, India, or anywhere else. From all parts of the world and all parts of the United Kingdom, because that is what a strong community is about. That means also we have to speak up against human rights abuses around the world, speak up against the power of the arms trade, speak up for peace, and that's why I mentioned all the wars. Ukraine, Sudan, what's happening in Libya, what's happening in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, what's happening in Yemen, and of course what's happening in Gaza, as yet more bombs raining down on the people of Gaza. So it's no good the British government saying it wants more aid going into Gaza, when we're supplying the bombs and the bombing the aid is going in the first We've had the most fantastic campaign here. We've brought in all of the issues, we've brought in such amazing volunteers, and it's been truly humbling, the people who have given us so much effort. And tomorrow we go out to try and get the votes and get ourselves over the line. And I'm often inspired by many things, but particularly people by their voices and by the poetry that has inspired me and so many others. So, if I may, I'll read a short poem to you. Shelley wrote the most brilliant poem after the massacre of Peterloo in Manchester. What happened there was they were desperately poor people who had been the soldiers of the Duke of Wellington in the Battle of Waterloo. They had indeed won for the British Empire the Battle of Waterloo. When they came back, they found themselves in poverty. When they came back, they found themselves chased from town to town, and various laws were passed in order to prevent them working and doing many, many other things. It was the most terrible time of oppression. And there was a protest. There was a protest in Manchester, protest in Shropshire, protest in the North East. But the one that's best known is Peterloo, when a number of the protesters were killed by the armed forces that were sent by the King and the Prime Minister at the time to destroy their lives. Shelley, who has some connections with this into through Mary Wollstonecraft, and who's his mother-in-law, and wrote this amazing poem from Italy, and you heard about the Peterloo massacre. I'm not going to read it all, it's too long, but I don't know, I'll just read the last three verses and I'll get poetry from them. And that slaughter to the nation shall steam up like inspiration, eloquent, oracular, a volcano heard afar. And these words shall then become like oppression's thundered doom, ring through each heart and brain, heard again, 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 rise like lions after slumber, in unvanquishable number. Shake your chains to earth like dew, which in sleep have fallen on you. We are many, they are few.